What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to review every wave weight basketball shoe that's available on the market right now. We're going to go through it from my least favorite pair to what I think is the best wave weight performer at the moment. So let's get straight into it and start with number 9, which is going to be the Wade Ice Blood 2 Volume 2. Essentially, they didn't change all that much compared to the Volume 1, so you can have the Volume 1 and the Volume 2 right there at that number 9 spot. Bright side of this shoe, they retail for only 119 euros or dollars, which is a great retail price in my opinion. Great value for money also, if, and that's a big if for me, you have narrow feet. These and the Volume 1s of them are one of the most narrow shoes I have tried in my entire life. And if you didn't know, I have extremely wide feet in the midfoot, and I honestly couldn't wear these for longer than like 10-15 minutes at a stretch because they were just so damn narrow. They actually have decent traction performance. You can see we have a little bit of a weird traction pattern, but it does perform well. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a horseshoe here in the heel. Maybe that's just me or anybody of you also sees that, just let me know. But the bite itself is actually quite good. The Volume 1 struggled a little bit with dusty cords and needed some break-in. These were good right out of the box. The cushioning setup is 75% boom. You can't see it that well here because the camera is so bright, but it's got just enough impact protection, and by any means it's not a bad basketball shoe. It's just my least favorite out of the wave weight shoes. At number 8, this might come as a bit of a surprise. I have the D-Low 1, so the Angelo Russell's first signature shoe. I really like what they did with the design. It's a really cool looking shoe. Also only retails for 120 euros or dollars, which is again great value for money for all the tech you get into this shoe. By the way, if you're wondering where you can cop these, you can find an affiliate link in the description box down below. It would support me if you purchase there, or you can just use the code LucasSimone10 for $10 off on your purchase. Also valid on certain items on sale. Just try it out. It works on most shoes on the website. Now back to the D-Low 1. I also like certain aspects of the performance. My issue with them is again the fit. They are just really narrow, and I unfortunately can't wear them for long amounts of time. The outsole works really well. Good traction performance, good bite, even works on dustier courts. Maybe not the most durable for outdoors. There's some better options on this list. The cushioning setup is full length boom, which is just awesome. The Wave Weight is giving us their best cushioning setup for a low retail price of 120 euros or dollars. Not many brands are doing that. The support features are also decent. There's decent torsional support. If you try to twist and turn them, they actually hold up quite well, and the materials are nice, thin, soft, breathable, almost no time to break in. So also a really solid shoe. My main issue with them is just the fit that's too narrow for me. At number 7, we have yet again a very underrated shoe, which is the Wade Shadow 6. I love the design. It looks really cool with this big X here in the heel. And for the cushioning, we have full length boom again. Again, these retail for, I think right about now, it's even less than they used to back in the day. They first released for 120, I think, and right now you can get them for around 100, which is insane value for money. They are crazy durable outside. They've got a tough RB outsole, which is like a more durable rubber setup that Wave Weight uses. On their website, it says it's 3 times more durable than other rubber compounds used by other companies. And from my experience, that's the case for sure, as they hold up way longer outdoors than other shoes I've tried. I mentioned the full length boom cushioning already. That's just an awesome feature to have for such a low retail price. The materials are also quite nice. They did take a little bit of time to break in, but they're nice and soft. Not the most breathable if you're playing outdoors, but still valid and also durable enough, as there's a little plasticky overlay here in the front if you're a toe dragger. Support features are also good, but not the best. That's my one downside. Torsional support isn't the best, as you can bend them quite easily. Even though you have a nice shank plate that actually also goes into the forefoot, it just doesn't add the most support on the market. At number 6, we have the successor to the Shadow 6. This is the Shadow 6 Volume 2, and in my opinion, these are a big upgrade for one main reason, which is the materials. They added a cool shell upper is what they call it, and as you can see, it's way softer, also way more breathable, so really perfect for summer. And I don't know how they did it, but it's still supportive enough, even though it's just such a thin layer of material around your foot. Really keeps you locked in. The laces on these and the regular Shadow 6 are a little bit weird, as they have like kind of a cord theme to them, but they actually work quite well and are nice and easy to tie down. The cushioning setup here is exactly the same, full length boom cushioning, which is really comfortable, and honestly my favorite setup on the market, as it combines impact protection and court feel in a way that no other cushioning setup really does. Maybe Boost from Adidas, but Wave Weight really has managed to make an amazing product with their boom cushioning setup. And the traction performance, the outsole is also the exact same. You also can really see the shank plate moving forward. I'll try to put a colorway on screen where you can actually see how the shank plate weight moves all the way under your big toe, which is just a really, really nice feeling. But again, it's just not the best torsional support on the market, unfortunately. If they had better torsional support, they would be way higher up on this list. Moving into the top 5, I have the Son of Flash. I only got a pair of these really, really late after they released, and I was positively surprised. Essentially, every shoe from Way of Weight has been good that I've tried, apart from some certain fit issues, but these really have amazing performance and kind of also work well for my wide feet. That's something I forgot to say about the shadow line as well. If you go half size up, these are actually also quite decent for wide footers if your foot is wide in the midfoot area. These have a really, really durable outsole. You can see it here. I actually use this pair outdoors, even not that often as it's an all white pair and I didn't want to get them dirty, but the outsole really is extremely durable and holds up crazily well outdoors on every type of surface. Plus they also work indoors, which is just awesome if you can wear a shoe outdoors and indoors. For the cushioning setup, we also have Boom. It's not as soft as on some other models that are still coming up in this video, but there's just enough impact protection in the heel and good cord feel in the forefoot. My main issue with them is also the torsional support. While this swoosh here acts as a little bit of an outrigger and we have a shank plate, it's just also not the most supportive, but at least these only flex here in the forefoot and not as much in the midfoot as the Shadow 6 did. The materials are a mix of synthetic materials here in the forefoot. These are really thin and soft, and then as you go back we get some more thicker materials and essentially some more padding also inside the shoe, which is also nice, and they're actually one of the most comfortable basketball shoes I've worn, and I'm definitely going to keep them in the rotation for a while. At number 4, we have a very recent release and one of the best value for money basketball shoes on the market right now. When they initially released, the All City 13 dropped for 160, which was already a great price, but right now if I'm going on the Way of Weight website in Europe, they're up there for 123 euros, and there's no shoe on the market where you get better value for money in my personal opinion. We've got a mix of a GCU and a Tough RB outsole, which I mentioned the Tough RB already. GCU is here in the heel, stands for Ground Control Unit, and essentially it's like a polyurethane resin type outsole, which works really, really well. Struggles a little bit with dusty cords. The first shoe we had it on was the AC12 Encore, and these had some issues on dustier cords, but if you wipe from time to time, you really get an amazing bite, and these are also durable enough for outdoors. GCU is durable, even though it looks to be a little bit thin. I had my doubts at first, but it actually works really well on outdoor courts too. Of course, you probably spotted it already. We have a full length Boom cushioning foam, very stacked in the heel, so good impact protection, but it's caged here on the lateral side, and you also have this massive heel counter that acts as an outrigger and a cage, so there's really no instability or whatsoever. And in the forefoot, you're still relatively low to the ground. What I also like about the All City line, especially the 13, is that different colorways come with different materials. So you can choose from leather colorways, from mesh colorways, from synthetic leather colorways, and from something like this right here, which would classify as a mesh, which is really nice for outdoors, also more breathable and a little bit less supportive and less stiff on foot. But if you want more support, you can go for a leather colorway and so on. So that's just really cool that you can choose a shoe to your liking, not only for the looks, but also from a material standpoint. Support features are also amazing. We've got a Euro plate, of course, that's inspired by Dwayne Wade's famous Euro step, and it adds for very, very good torsional support. As you can see, I mentioned those heel counters already and the features in the heel, and we have a little bit of an outrigger here as well. So a very, very supportive shoe. Lacing system also top tier, no issues. Didn't come undone once while I played with them. So really one of my favorite shoes from Way of Weight. And also the fit at first, it's really damn narrow, but if you break them in, they will also be good for wide footers. Now moving into the top 3, these are honestly some of the best basketball shoes of all time. Third spot goes to the Way of Weight 11. Maybe you had them in the top 2, but for me the other two shoes are just better. They're also an exceptional performer. They're a little bit more expensive than the other shoes as well. 220 or 200 is a pretty high retail price. As I said, with the code you can save, but it's still pretty high up there, but you do also get an exceptional performer. The outsole is really one of the most unique outsole patterns or outsole designs you can find on the market right now, and it also performs great. It's full length GCU. So here at first I had my doubts because it was just so narrow and it looked so thin that I wasn't sure it was going to hold up outdoors, especially and also on indoor courts. It actually did hold up quite well. The only area where I noticed some wear and tear was like right here on the tip of the shoe, but apart from that, they're definitely durable enough also for outdoors. The cushioning setup is a very, very interesting thing, as it was a big change up from the Way of Weight 10. We've got a carbon core system, which means we've got a layer of Boom foam, a carbon plate and then another layer of boom foam here in this really thick midsole area. This makes them not as bouncy as the Waveweight 10, but they have better impact protection. And if you try to flex them, you can see almost impossible to flex because of that carbon plate here. So support really also 10 out of 10. One of the most supportive basketball shoes you can get right now. So if that's important to you, I can highly recommend them. They're also in my top 5 for senders video. So really an awesome basketball shoe. Just the two pairs on the top were a little bit better in my personal opinion. At number 2, we have the Wade 808 5 Ultra, 160 retail, also insanely good value for money. Together with the Old City 13, you really can't beat that. We've got a tough OS rubber outsole as well as a GCU mix in there. Works exceptionally well indoors. Also has a pretty loud squeak, even though that has nothing to do with performance. Some people just like to have it. You can also see a carbon fiber accent here in the midsole as a shank plate, and we got a very nice heel counter. Some colorways even have a little carbon fiber accent here, kind of reminiscent of the Kobe 9. But what really makes these stand out is the drop-in midsole, and this time it's not only a boom cushioning drop-in midsole as it was in the past with the 808 line, it's a super boom drop-in midsole. I know the name sounds a little bit funny at first, but it really is an amazing feeling underneath your foot. I've never had a drop-in midsole that felt so explosive with so much impact protection, and that was still relatively low to the ground. The only thing that came close for me is the drop-in insole of the All Pro Nitro Elite, but these are just better as the shoe isn't as heavy and the shoe itself doesn't feel as clunky. My favorite upgrade compared to the 884 Ultra is the materials. Way thinner, way more breathable, not clunky at all. I don't know how they did it, but this really is one of the best basketball shoes of the year, and even gets into the discussion with one of the best basketball shoes of all time, as my number 1 spot still goes to the Waveweight 10. It's going to be hard to beat these, as I also have them in my all-time ranking quite high, and they really just are an amazing basketball shoe, an amazing performer. The outsole, traditional herringbone type pattern, works really well, also durable enough for outdoors. They also use their tough rubber compound, which is always nice, and you could see the most prominent thing about them already, this full-length carbon plate, insanely bouncy, one of the bounciest shoes I've tried. If you see, I'm trying to flex them here, nothing moves, and you really get so much energy back out of this shoe when you're just running down up and down the court. But if you're jumping, oh my, it's like another story compared to other shoes. It's really like a trampoline jumping in these. What I also like is that they have full length boom. The only minor downside maybe to them is that you feel a tiny little bit unstable before you get used to them, because you've got this really thick carbon plate and you've got the boom cushioning, so you're kind of high off the ground at first, but it just takes some time getting used to the feeling, the compression, and once you have that figured out, they're actually also kind of nice and low to the ground, if that makes sense. Support features also really good. I mentioned the full length carbon plate. We've got a heel counter, lacing system worked well, and what's also insane about these is how thin yet supportive the materials are. This is really just a tiny layer of material here in the toe box and essentially all around the shoe, reinforced in just the right areas for just enough support. So really, this is one of the best basketball shoes, if not the best basketball shoe I've tried, and that's why they deservingly have the number 1 spot on this list. With that being said, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if I missed any shoes or if you would have ranked them differently. I would appreciate if you could leave a comment with your thoughts, like the video as I said, and also subscribe to my channel, of course. That really helps me out. Have a good one and see you next time.